Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking something literally all of us deal with, conflict. But look, instead of just talking about managing it, we're going to dive into a mental model that could honestly change how you approach everyday disagreements. We're going to do this by peeling back the layers of a classic anecdote. It's one that perfectly captures why we get so stuck in arguments, and more importantly, how we can break free.
So I want you to picture this scenario. You've got two siblings standing in their kitchen, and they are intensely fighting over the very last orange in the fruit bowl. Tensions are high, right? Both of them are absolutely adamant. They're looking at the exact same resource, and they're both demanding full ownership of it. So what happens? Who actually wins here? Well, our default human instinct is usually the classic 50-50 compromise. Just, cut the orange right down the middle. Sibling A gets half, sibling B gets half. It feels incredibly fair, right? But here's the absurdity of this simple compromise. By splitting the fruit in half, both siblings actually walk away with way less than what they really need. Sure, they compromised, but neither of them is truly happy with the result. So that brings us to part one, positions versus interests. To understand why that 50-50 split completely failed, we've got to look at the underlying theory here. In any conflict, a position is basically just what you say you want. It's that rigid, stated demand that people stubbornly anchor themselves to during a dispute. In our kitchen scenario, the position of both siblings was identical and totally unyielding. I want that orange. And, when we only focus on positions, conflict just becomes this zero-sum game. If I get the orange, you don't. It's essentially a brick wall that stops any real negotiation. But let's immediately contrast that by defining an interest. If a position is what you want, an interest is why you want it. It represents your underlying motivations. Now, when we finally look at the actual interests in our story, a totally different picture emerges. It turns out one sibling was hungry and just wanted the nutritious fruit to eat. But the other sibling, they weren't hungry at all. They were baking a cake and literally only needed the zesty rind for their recipe. So here is the absolutely crucial point. While their stated demands, their positions, were exactly the same, their actual underlying motivations, their interests, were perfectly compatible. They were mistakenly fighting over a single resource simply because they didn't realize they actually wanted two completely different parts of it. And honestly, this is the tragic flaw of just settling for a compromise without digging any deeper. Which leads us right into part two, the power of asking why. So how exactly do we bridge this massive gap between rigid demands and hidden needs? Well, we build what's called a why web. Just think about how many completely hidden interests can hide behind one single position. If someone yells, "I want the orange," they might be hungry, sure, but maybe they're baking a cake, doing a science project, or maybe they're just thirsty. Until we map this out, we're basically just guessing at how to solve the problem. The key to unlocking that web is really leaning into collaborative problem solving. And that requires us to be genuinely curious. We have to ask probing questions. Things like, why is this important to you? Or what will having this orange actually help you do? We need to do this rather than just, reacting emotionally to their initial demands. We essentially have to become investigators of human motivation. All right, let's move to part three, achieving mutual wins. Let's apply all this to a super actionable framework for our own lives. Step one, avoid anchoring to rigid positions. When someone makes a demand, don't just immediately counter with yours. Step two, ask probing questions. Use genuine curiosity to figure out their why. And step three, uncover the true reasons. Once you find those hidden interests, you're empowered to design solutions that go way, way beyond a simple, unsatisfying compromise. Because here is the ultimate payoff. By asking why and uncovering those shared or compatible interests, our two siblings don't just get 50%. They achieve a superior, mutually beneficial agreement where they both get exactly 100% of what they wanted. One sibling eats all the nutritious fruit, and the other uses all of the zesty rind to bake their cake. Nobody loses, nobody compromises. Everyone gets exactly what they need. I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge today. Take a quick moment and think about your own life, your workplace, your relationships. What oranges are you currently fighting over? Where are you stuck arguing over identical stated demands, completely missing the fact that your underlying motivations might actually be perfectly compatible? It's time to look past those rigid positions, ask why, and really peel back the layers of your own conflicts. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I can't wait to see you next time.